It was a clear afternoon as Jeju Air Flight 7C-2216 approached Muan International Airport. December 29, 2024, seemed like any other day. Passengers were getting ready to land. The Boeing 737-800, a common type of airplane, was on a normal flight from Bangkok, Thailand. Then, something terrible happened. The plane, with over 180 people on board, skidded off the runway as it landed. It caught fire. This tragedy shocked South Korea and the world. The crash of Flight 7C-2216 reminded everyone that flying can be dangerous. Even with strict safety rules, accidents can still happen. The investigation would be a search for answers. What happened in those final moments? Everyone wanted to know how this could happen. People on the ground watched in horror as the plane slid off the runway. Witnesses described a scary and chaotic scene. The sound of metal scraping against concrete filled the air. A huge fire erupted, covering the plane in flames. Thick black smoke went up into the sky, visible from far away. Emergency workers rushed to the scene, fighting the fire and desperately looking for survivors. The air smelled strongly of jet fuel and smoke. First responders described a terrifying scene. They pulled passengers from the wreckage, some with bad burns, others confused and disoriented. The human cost of the disaster was becoming terribly clear. Investigators quickly looked at the landing gear. It seemed like it had failed when the plane touched down. This important system is needed for a safe landing. Without it, a plane is impossible to control. The strong metal parts and hydraulics of the landing gear hold the entire weight of the plane. If they malfunction, it can be disastrous. Experts think several things can cause landing gear failure. Old metal, leaking hydraulic fluid, or even a small mechanical problem can have terrible results. For Flight 7C-2216, the exact cause wasn't clear right after the crash. Investigators would look at repair records, examine the wreckage, and study the black box data to figure out what happened. Investigators also considered the possibility of a bird strike. Birds are a constant danger for airplanes, especially during takeoff and landing. Hitting a bird, even a small one, can cause serious damage. Bird strikes can damage engines, break windshields, or even hurt the wings and body of the plane. Airports use different ways to keep birds away. These include loud noises, trained falcons, and changing the environment around the airport, but it's impossible to completely eliminate the risk. In this case, investigators would look for bird remains in the engine or on the runway. They would also look at radar data to see if any groups of birds were nearby just before the crash. Section 5. The response: a race against time. The emergency response was fast and organized. Firefighters put out the fire while paramedics helped the injured. Every second was important. Rescuers worked hard to free trapped passengers. The airport's emergency plan was put into action, sending medical teams, ambulances, and other helpers. Hospitals got ready to treat the injured. Doctors, nurses, and other hospital workers worked non-stop to provide care. The combined efforts of first responders and medical professionals definitely saved lives. Sadly, many people still died, leaving many families grieving and wanting answers. Section 6. Jeju Air, grappling with the aftermath. The crash of Flight 7C-2216 was a terrible blow to Jeju Air. The airline, known for its affordable flights, was now facing a nightmare. The company released a statement, sharing their sadness for the families of the victims. They promised to cooperate fully with the investigation. The airline had the difficult job of contacting families, offering support, and answering the public's questions. The crash greatly affected Jeju Air. Flights were canceled and the company's stock price went down. This incident showed how easily things can go wrong in the airline industry. Section 7. Expert opinions, preventing future tragedies. Aviation experts talked about the tragedy, offering their thoughts and suggestions. They stressed the importance of careful maintenance checks, saying it's important to find problems early. Experts also pointed out the ongoing problem of bird strikes. Some suggested investing more in technology to detect and scare away birds. Others wanted better pilot training for handling landing gear problems and other emergencies. The crash started new conversations about airplane safety. Everyone hoped that lessons from this tragedy could prevent similar accidents from happening again. Section 8. Remembering the victims, stories of loss and resilience. After the crash, the personal stories came out. Families dealt with unbelievable loss. Loved ones shared memories of the people who died. A young couple coming home from their honeymoon, a businessman going to an important meeting, a grandmother visiting her grandchildren. Even with the sadness, there were also stories of hope. 2 passengers miraculously lived through the crash. Their survival was thanks to luck and the quick actions of rescuers. Their stories gave a little bit of hope during a very sad time. Section 9. The long road ahead, seeking answers and ensuring safety. The investigation into the crash of Jeju Air Flight 7C-2216 would be long and complicated. Investigators will look at everything, from the black box recordings to the pieces of the plane scattered on the runway. The goal is to find answers, figure out why the crash happened, and stop it from happening again. The entire aviation industry will learn from this tragedy. Safety rules will be reviewed and new technologies will be explored. Remembering the people who died that day will remind everyone how important it is to be careful, use new ideas, and always focus on safety in the sky.